Hello and welcome. It's Friday, April Fools. Ooh, spooky, 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 jokey stuff. And there's not a lot of news today in the gaming world, thankfully. So since it's April Fools, I thought we'd do weird stories from my role-playing table. So I tried to think of what are the weirdest things that have happened at my gaming table that I could remember. There are two that stand out. I'm pretty sure I've told you guys both these stories before. What a lovely day here at Site B. I bet there's more that has happened, but these are the two that I remember the most, that stand out the most in my mind. Now, these aren't, weird adventuring stories or weird things players did in the game. These are weird things that actually happened in reality while I was running the game. Both of which can probably be explained due to recreational pharmaceuticals. Now, even though it's April 1st, both these stories are absolutely 100% true tales of weirdness from my gaming table. Tale number one. So we had this guy that joined our game named Joe. I think his name was Joe. I'm going to say his name was Joe. He showed up, played a game. He was, obviously a little inebriated, but he had a good sense of humor and added to the game, and nobody could really find any fault not to invite him back. We invited him back. He showed up the next week again, a little inebriated, very much an alpha male, really into bodybuilding and stuff. Obviously was self-medicating, but again, nothing major, no major issues. Third game. Now this stands out for two reasons. One, he brings a bunch of stuff. He brings some food. He bought a bunch of miniatures. He bought some props. So he shows up and he's all geeked out. He puts these miniatures down. He's 4 or 5 miniatures that he's bought. A map that he bought from Seth. Dice that he bought from Seth. This is all from back when Seth's Games and Anime was open. This happened a long time ago, at least 7 years ago. We're playing, and this is the part I remember. He was sitting at the edge of the table. I was sitting next to him on the corner of the table, running. Across from me was one of the players. We're in the middle of a situation, a scenario. Joe suddenly jumps up, looks at the table and says, "My iguana just knocked over my lava lamp and set my puppy on fire. I have to go." My iguana just knocked over my lava lamp and set my puppy on fire. I have to go. And he leaves. He doesn't take any of his stuff with him, his figures, his dice, pencils, papers, food, everything he brought with him. He just leaves at the table. He gets up, says this bizarre statement, walks out the door. We never see him again. I'm texting him the next day going, "Joe, I hope you're okay. You left all your stuff. What do you want me to do with it? Give me a call." Nothing. 2-3 days, I'm texting him, I'm calling him. "Joe, hey man, are you okay? You left all your stuff. Are you showing up for the game? I have all your stuff." Nothing. Never heard from him again. Never saw him again. About a year later, we heard a rumor that he had sadly taken his life, but that was never confirmed if that was the Joe we were talking about. We were just told, "Oh, hey, remember that guy Joe? Yeah, I heard he killed himself." Well, which Joe? You know, I mean, I'm sure there's like 20, 30 Joes that have passed through Seth's Games and Anime. So I don't know if it's the Joe that was at my table or if it has anything to do with the story. We just, you know, a year later, oh, I heard Joe killed himself. Don't know if that's true. Just a rumor. If the idea of self-harm upsets you in any way, or if you're considering self-harm, or you're dealing with mental and emotional issues, please reach out to the proper channels. You are not alone. Okay, so my iguana knocked over my lava lamp, set my puppy on fire. I've got to go. Now, we don't know to this day, and this story still comes up along with Roger and the Fireball. We don't know to this day what spurred this, because he didn't get a text or anything. It wasn't like he was looking at his phone, or at least none of us remember that he was looking at his phone. Just jumped up, said this, walked out, never seen again. Nothing in the news about a dog getting set on fire, just to throw that out there. But yeah, so this happened at Seth Games and Anime about 8 years ago, I'm going to say. I still have the figures Joe left behind, the dice Joe left behind, the map Joe left behind. The pencils and paper have been used up, but I kept them, and I kept trying to reach out from him, so never heard from him. So Joe, if you're hearing this anywhere on the planet and you're okay, I still have your stuff. Random fantasy setting. Ooh, cool. Story number 2 of Random Tales of Strangeness from my gaming table. And again, this actually happened. So, there had been this guy showing up at my game for a while. He had a girlfriend. She would show up, you know, to pick him up or just to hang out with him. And we kept asking her if she wanted to play. And she was like hemming or hawing. But, you know, she eventually played. She played in one game, seemed to have an okay time, but was just very hesitant to engage. You know, very shy, a little flaky, but, you know, whatever. Ooh, random fantasy is random. So showed up for a second game, really got into it, you know, until she started talking about witchcraft, and then we're like, eh. But again, she seemed to be dropping her inhibitions, playing, investing, and she shows up for the third game. Now, the third game was my annual Thanksgiving Night of the Dire Turkey. So this is a comedy-inspired adventure I run every year around Thanksgiving, basically dealing with the player characters having to fight a giant kaiju turkey, the dire turkey. And it's usually about an hour-long encounter that I somehow slip into whatever else is going on. But, you know, it's what, you know, no matter where they are, by the second hour of the game, this giant turkey is going to show up and they're going to have to fight it. So they knew going in that it was Night of the Dire Turkey. They knew at some point they were going to have to fight a giant turkey. Now before that, there was an encounter with some wolves that attacked the party, and the party attacked the wolves, and she got upset because we were attacking the wolves instead of trying to befriend them, and she didn't like to see the animals get hurt. But we're like, you know, this is make-believe, it's not real. There are obviously other options you could have pursued, but they chose to attack. But just, you know, next time, if you think there's a better way to resolve the situation, let us know. Because obviously nobody wants to get in a fight if they can avoid it, because they'll still get the EP. So we get to the fight with the dire turkey, and it's ridiculous, you know. The dire turkey is attacking with its giant dire beak. It's trying to stomp on people with its, you know, little turkey feet. And it has a breath weapon. It has a breath weapon of gravy. Now, how the gravy breath weapon works is that it fills a certain amount of hexes with gravy. Everybody caught in that hex has their movement reduced to half till the start of the next round. They have to make a I'm not washed away or drowning in gravy roll, and then they have to make a constitution save, or they gain weight from eating all the gravy. That was it. Now, there was a caveat. If the amount of weight they gained exceeded their carrying capacity, they wouldn't be able to move at all. But other than that, it wasn't actually doing any real damage. The damage was also all whether they drowned or not, and if they gained weight. Because it was a silly encounter. I didn't want to get it, it wasn't supposed to be serious. Nobody was supposed to die. There were prizes that were going to explode out of the dire turkey if they succeeded. And I mentioned the breath weapon. Everybody's happy. They're enjoying it. They're having fun. And then suddenly she starts crying. Crying about the fact that her character gained weight. Crying about the fact that they were hurting this turkey, that she doesn't like to see any animals hurt. She's just crying. We just stop. We don't know what to do. We're like, it's all in fun. And she's like, I don't know if she was triggered by the weight gain joke, or really she just didn't like seeing animals in D&D hurt, or if there was something else going on in her head that might have involved recreational pharmaceuticals, if you know what I mean. Random spooky house of spooky. But just bawling, crying. The weight joke. Everybody who's failed to save twice gained 100 pounds from swallowing delicious gravy. And she's like, and she didn't want to, and she's just crying, scratches her boyfriend's arm and says, "I'm leaving," and stomps out. Her boyfriend's apologizing, grabs her stuff, runs after her. We're all like, well, yeah, I guess maybe we went too far. I guess this encounter's over. I don't really know where to go with this. I'm sorry. So we just ended it there, because it sort of just put a downer on the whole game. And I tried talking to her and hey, this is what happens in D&D. If that's something that's going to upset you, maybe D&D isn't the thing for you. But remember, it's all make-believe. And if the combat-centric, crazy combat game that is D&D is something that's going to, bother you, well, there's other games. But she's just like, no, I never want to play again. And that was it. Again, after that, never heard from her again. Never saw her boyfriend again. Deeply upset by the idea of hurting a make-believe giant turkey on a Thanksgiving-themed adventure, or deeply upset because her made-up character gained 100 pounds and somehow that triggered some weight issue, or simply she was under the effects of Starbucks, of a recreational pharmaceutical. So there you go, 2 bizarre stories. And if you are this woman and you're listening, I apologize if whatever I did upset you. Please, you're always welcome to come back and play again. And please, you're always welcome to open up a dialogue with me about what upset you and what we can do to fix it, and how we can help you find a game. Ooh, dominoes. Ooh, Stafford Jacks. That will work for you, since apparently the ridiculousness of D&D upsets you. So there you go. The 2 stories of weirdness from my D&D table in honor of April Fools. And as always, if you're offended by Dungeons & Dragons, or triggered by Dungeons & Dragons, or Dungeons & Dragons upsets you in any way, remember, it's make-believe. it doesn't actually affect the real world in any ways. And the best way to deal with your issues is talk to your fellow players, talk to the DM, talk to each other, and work things out so nobody has to deal with that. I mean, if you're triggered by a Thanksgiving-themed adventure, when the DM tells you it's a Thanksgiving-themed adventure called Night of the Dire Turkey, let the DM know that the idea upsets you, and maybe they can work with something. But again, remember, it's make-believe. It's not going to hurt you. There is nothing in the player's handbook that can hurt you because it's not real. And if you're offended by any aspect of Dungeons & Dragons, you probably shouldn't be playing Dungeons & Dragons. Anyways, Joe, if you're out there, I'm sorry, buddy, and I still have your stuff. And woman who got upset because of the turkey, if you're still out there, you're always welcome to contact us, and we'd love to have you come back. We will, of course, be playing at Dreamworld Collectibles here in the Ventura Pacific View Mall. Till next time, I've been the OG GM. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you don't appreciate this content, let me know. Have a great weekend. See ya Monday.